It's 4:20 somewhere, and right now that somewhere is right here. Hello, I'm Janae Burris.
And I'm Jake Browne. Welcome to the Cannabis Show, where we talk all things weed. Janae, how is your secret family in Boise?
They're waiting to see me again. I'll be right back this weekend. So.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just joking. You're really going back.
I'm really going back. You know, I got to go where the love is. Shoot, if they like me in Boise, then that's where I'll be.
Okay.
What's going on? How was Whitewater Rafting? You survived. You lived.
I didn't go.
I
was saved by an act of God. There was a lot of lightning in that forecast.
Of God.
I was like, we're not doing this, are we?
Suddenly he's religious. That's cool.
It was a Saturday service. No.
Well, I'm glad you survived.
Yeah, I came home. I didn't do jack.
Maybe get in the bathtub, splash around a little bit. Wildly?
I haven't unpacked my rubber duckies yet. We will find them. I'm excited. We're going to go to a party tonight.
Yeah. Cincy, let's do this.
And then some poker later.
Yeah, take my money.
All right, now it's time for the Week in Weed, and let's start like a bench press regimen or a meth addiction behind bars. While conservative scion Ann Coulter argued back in August that no one goes to prison for pot, the just-released 2016 FBI crime data shows that 5% of all arrests are for marijuana possession, according to the Washington Post's Christopher Ingram. With more and more states embracing both medical and recreational marijuana, that hasn't changed the fact that more than 1 in 20 arrests involve a pot charge, and that someone is arrested every minute in this country for herb. Every minute. This comes on the heels of Attorney General Jeff Sessions doubling down on his previously anti-weed talking points in San Diego last week, saying, quote, "It doesn't strike me that the country would be better if it's being sold in every street corner," unquote. Sessions, of course, made it clear earlier this year he's a fan of mandatory minimum sentencing, so there's a potential for drug arrests to trend up faster than stocks for private prisons. Staying in Washington, let's go to Janae with the latest person to leave Trump, and no, it's not his third wife, Melania.
Acting DEA head Chuck Rosenberg, a holdover from the Obama administration, plans to step down from his post, which begs the question, is working for Obama and then working for Trump not already a step down? Jake?
A Texas man who smuggled 200 pounds of weed from Oregon will serve 3 years in prison, pay a $5,000 fine, and surrender his 1969 Piper Comanche and 2017 Lemon Haze.
Hey, fall is here, and that means everyone's favorite spectator sport is back as well. Are you ready for some chronic traumatic encephalopathy? I mean, are you ready? I practiced so hard on that. Yeah. I mean, are you ready for some football?
Badminton? Oh,
yeah, great. Football's here. While current controversy surrounding the game has to do with whether or not players' First Amendment rights allow them to peacefully protest government-sanctioned murder of young black people at the hands of law enforcement, players' use of marijuana is a constant and complicated issue that deserves frank discussion.
Yes.
If we're going to pay these gladiators to bash their brains in for our entertainment, we should also grant them safe and effective relief from their pain. Take Kyle Turley, a former All-Pro lineman who played 8 years in the NFL and suffered more than 100 concussions. 2 years ago, the 41-year-old, who is also suffering with early onset Alzheimer's, turned away from opioids and began using marijuana. He told the Mercury News that medical marijuana is key to treating his laundry list of injuries, which include vertigo, depression, rage, and migraines. Despite an endless catalog of physical injuries and lingering psychological scars, Turley says he wouldn't hesitate to play football again if he could play while utilizing cannabis. Are you listening, NFL? You could get a few more years out of these guys if you granted them safe relief from their pain with marijuana. It's a win-win, maybe? We've got all your NFL MJ news right at thecannabis.co. Jake?
Janae, your home state of California has some serious problems on its hands, potentially devastating earthquakes, an unreliable water supply, a rapidly aging red hot chili pepper population.
You know what, Jake, forget you.
Actually, pesticides may be the biggest threat to legal cannabis, according to Lisa M. Krieger of the Mercury News. Experts are saying that only 15% of growers can produce the clean weed that the state will require starting in 2018, as massive outdoor crops have meant farmers taking shortcuts in the form of pesticides. Now, 2 cannabis testing labs in the Golden State found that 80% or more of samples they received were contaminated, leaving members of the community wondering what's going to happen to that weed that fails state-required assays. It's not hard to see how it could wind up on the black market or crossing state lines. We'll be speaking with an organic farmer in a few minutes. Can't wait to get his take on this. Janae?
Just in time for Halloween, Colorado regulators have decided to ban edibles in shapes too tempting for curious children, like animals, fruits, cartoons, keys, TV remote controls, and Tide detergent pods with Febreze. The Cannabis' own award-winning staff reporter, Alicia Wallace, writes, "The new rules are part of the ongoing evolution of Colorado's pioneering foray into legalizing and regulating the sale of marijuana. Soon after recreational use began here in Colorado, public health concerns emerged regarding accidental ingestion, overconsumption, pesticide residue, and the worst and most egregious offense, normalization." All this prompting state regulators to implement measures including child-proof packaging, to keep old people with poor dexterity out of your stash, and the barring of words such as candy to throw all those literate babies off the scent. Marijuana industry here in Colorado has been quick to comply with regulations surrounding edibles. Jake, remember our friend Josh Blue and the packaging used for his Blue Dream suckers? We could put Josh's terrifying pirate face on all edible packaging. What a great idea. But if you really want to keep these products out of the hands of children, consider bundling edibles like fresh vegetables and labeling them green stuff. Kids hate eating green stuff. Jake?
I hate eating green stuff. I'm working on it, though.
They're always like, I don't like the green stuff.
I'm working through my issues. It's crazy because you talk to edibles manufacturers and they're so frustrated because all of this costs a ton of money. When they had to do new packaging regulations, they have to start actually labeling edibles on the actual edible. Vince had a great video of this. A lot of them have to stamp THC on like a gummy, and it's not exactly easy.
Yeah, each piece of a chocolate bar has the leaf and THC, like each little piece of it. I mean, not once a kid gets that open, it's like kind of done from there anyway. So, I mean, I think the key is like just parental guidance. Parents have to do a better job, I think, of keeping those things.
It's like liquor,
Like liquor.
We always had a liquor cabinet. It was
like
locked
fire,
up.
like knives. Just really, keep track of them and out of the way. I did have to. I was reading about emergency rooms. And a lot of people ended up in emergency rooms for marijuana. And I had a good friend who does not normally partake, like at all.
So what? Just
I had to pick her
with
up
a whole bar.
Right. She just was being cute in front of a guy, and he gave her some, and she's trying to be cool. Trying to be cool. Keep it away from people who are trying to be cool. That's what it is. Those are the people messing up. But I had to pick her up from the emergency room. Like she called me, and she sounded so weird. I was like, great. My friend, who was really smart and fun and great, is one of these dopes who ends up in the emergency room.
What would they do for her?
Nothing. They basically told me, look, could you take your friend home and give her some water? Could you give your friend some water? And she was embarrassed. She was like, I know, I feel better now, but at the time I panicked and went to the emergency room. But luckily they didn't charge her. They were just like, get out.
They're probably just sick of this, right?
They're sick of it, basically. It's just people sitting around in the waiting room, sobering up, pretty much. But yeah, it's a problem for lame adults, I think. I don't know.
The only thing I like those stamps for is now people don't have to ask me if food I give them has weed in it. That's like anytime I make baked goods for people, they're like, is this? And I'm like, no, it doesn't have this stamp on it.
No, it's just delicious food.
It's just delicious
Texas.
food.
What did your mom make? Texas
sheet cake, gooey butter
Texas
cake.
Sheet cake.
Come to the Browne's house, leave 5 pounds heavier. For more on this and all the stories from the Week in Weed, visit us online at thecannabis.co. Now we're going to throw to our latest installment of Strain. And if you're listening to the podcast, go over to YouTube, check it out.